鬼は外くわーち鬼は外くわーち
グラム食堂グラム食堂グラム食堂グラム食堂
Hey! So today we're making Ehomaki because it is Setsubun. Setsubun is a holiday that celebrates the changing of the seasons, so think Groundhog Day in America. So for Ehomaki we need roasted seaweed sheet. Maki means to roll, and so we need this to roll all of our ingredients together into a nice roll. Recipes differ depending on who you ask, but I think I found a pretty general recipe, and we're gonna create a few ingredients that we're gonna cut in very long pieces to make our roll. So one component is gonna be our atsuyaki tamago. So this is like a tamagoyaki, which means Japanese omelet. So we're gonna make a long Japanese omelet, really delicious. I'm also gonna add some shiitake mushrooms. So these were dried shiitake mushrooms that I've rehydrated in water. Using the liquid that I rehydrated them in, I'm gonna simmer these mushrooms and the carrots with a soup made from this shiitake liquid, shoyu, and mirin, which is a sweet rice wine. I'm also gonna be preparing these soybeans. I'm gonna boil these in water, in salted water. And the recipe calls for unagi, which is eel, but unagi is generally sold already prepared with tare, which means Japanese sauce. So I couldn't find any unagi that I could eat, so I'm gonna be experimenting today with some kinmedai. This is golden eye snapper, and this snapper has been marinated in shio koji. So to prepare this, I'm going to remove the koji and I'm gonna skewer it and bake it in my fish oven. Alright, so let's get started. Shoot! Okay, so I've cut my carrots into strips that are not quite julienne but kind of fat. And then I'm gonna slice my shiitake mushrooms that I've rehydrated, and I'm gonna cut them into strips as well. So I'm gonna remove the stem. They've gotten so much bigger and more plump since adding them to the water. Yeah, and so by using the dehydrated shiitakes, I've gotten a really delicious broth that I can use for simmering them. So you want long slices, so everything you put in your ehomaki you want to be quite long, because the ehomaki itself is a long sushi roll. Make strips like this. Alright, so now I'm gonna add my shiitake broth to a pot. Oops. And so I've added my mushroom broth. Now 4 teaspoons of our seasonings. So if you've ever made Japanese food, you probably are familiar with the traditional seasoning of sugar, shoyu, and mirin. I'm gonna do those in equal amounts. Okay, and that's our broth for our vegetables. So I'm gonna turn on the heat to medium. And I'm gonna melt the sugar into the broth. So in go the vegetables, carrots and mushrooms. And these are gonna cook for about 15 to 20 minutes until nice and soft and flavorful. Okay, so once your mixture has come to a boil, we're gonna lower it to low heat and let it simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. So yeah, so until the liquid is fully absorbed. To make a Japanese omelet, I recommend using this rectangular pan. If you don't have this, you can also make it in a regular pan. The shape just won't be the same. We're gonna do one with 3 eggs. We're gonna add some sugar and shoyu, soy sauce, and I'm gonna add a little bit of dashi also. So in go 3 eggs. 1 teaspoon of shoyu. 1 teaspoon of sugar. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that. for some extra flavor, but you don't need that. So the interesting thing about a Japanese omelet is that each layer is kind of fried separately. So for each layer you need a new layer of oil, but you don't want to use too much oil. So in that case, some kind of cloth, like I'm using this tea bag, you want to soak it in oil. And then you want to put some oil in your pan also. Okay, and then turn that to medium heat. And then this oil is going to be used for your first layer, and then each subsequent layer will be oiled with just a bit of oil from this cloth. Okay, so now that the oil is hot, I'm going to add my first layer. So just pour enough egg to cover the pan. Move it around. Okay, and you'll see bubbles forming. You want to pop those. You don't want any of the air to accumulate. So pop the holes, shake it around, you know, hold the edges in to make it nice and fluffy. Okay, and once it's mostly cooked, you just start to turn the egg in. And then, once you get it all to one side, you want to push it all the way back. Back. And this is when your little sheet comes in handy, because you're gonna oil, add just a bit of oil using the sheet, and then egg mixture in. Another layer. Okay, and here you want to make a whole layer, so lift up the previous layer and make sure you get into the corners as well. Okay, and you'll see bubbles forming. You're gonna pop those because you don't want to build up gas. Okay. So once you see that all of the liquid has been absorbed, you can turn off the heat. Okay, so next we're gonna prepare the beans. So these are green beans. Typically they come with fiber that you have to peel. So typically you'd have to peel fiber that runs lengthwise, but I bought a certain type that has already been prepared, so I don't have to take the fiber out, but I do have to cut the tips because we don't really want to eat this part. So I'm just going to cut the top and bottom of each bean. Okay, so for the beans, I'm gonna add a heaping teaspoon of salt. We're just gonna boil these for 1 minute, so take care. I have an ice bath ready for them after they've finished. So just blanching them, basically. Hey Siri, set a timer for 1 minute.
Your timer is set for 1 minute.
They turn a nice bright green color, and we're just gonna stop the cooking process with some ice. 2 rice cups of rice and 4 tablespoons of rice vinegar, which is just rice vinegar and sugar combined. You can make it yourself or just buy it pre-made like this. This has the sugar and vinegar combined, but you can make it yourself. And start putting it into your bowl. And then add your sushi vinegar. So this is gonna flavor your rice. So kind of mix it with your paddle. So like cut through the rice using your paddle. So this is the base for all sushi recipes. So we're fanning the rice to cool it down and get all the rice properly seasoned before we add it to the room temperature nori. So we don't want it to be too hot when we add it to the other ingredients. So I'm using a fan. Okay, so now I'm gonna prepare the fish. Like I said before, the recipe calls for unagi. This is a kinmedai golden-eye snapper that's been marinated in shio koji. So just gonna remove koji so you can see that there's some rice on the fish. And remove the koji from the bottom as well. Just cut. Okay, so I have 3 pieces. Gonna skewer them using these wooden skewers. And just kind of stretch them out so it cooks evenly. Like that. So I'm gonna add these to my fish oven. 1, 2, 3. Let's check our fish. So yeah, ideally this would be unagi or eel. Couldn't find that without sauce, so we went with kinmedai, golden-eye snapper. It looks delicious. So we have our ingredients. We have our sushi rice. We have our Japanese omelet, cucumber, our carrots and shiitake mushrooms that have been simmered in Japanese seasonings like mirin and soy sauce. We have our fish and we have our green beans. Time for assembly. I have my seaweed sheet, nori, shiny side down onto a makisu. This is going to be a tool to help us roll the maki together. So put shiny side down. And in here I have a mixture of rice vinegar and water just to wet my fingers when I'm handling the food. Okay, so I want to leave 2 centimeters here empty, but fill the rest with our cooled down sushi rice. Okay, so now I'm gonna start lining up our fillings just a little bit above the halfway point. I'm gonna take the bottom of my makisu and fold it 1 time. And use my fingers to apply pressure. Camera.
できた。
Did it?
はい。
Stop it.
It looks so good.
Honto?
Check the mic and make sure it's
Does it look like Ehomaki?
Shoo!
Hi. We made it.
Dun!
We're gonna eat this. But there are some rules while we eat this. So we can't talk.
We're talking.
Not talking.
Every year we face a different direction.
Yeah. So this year we should face.
Southeast? Yep.
Actually, none to.
South-southeast.
According to this compass, southeast is there.
There?
There.
Okay.
So while we eat this, we should face there. Are you ready?
Yeah. Alright, itadakimasu.
いただきます。Cheers!
Cheers!
Here we go. ごちそうさまでした。
How was it?
これなんていうか知ってる？豆投げるとき。何？
鬼は外。中は
中は中。惜しい。
運が中。運がない。運が中。
鬼は外。
運が
じゃない。服は
ない。
ないじゃない。
中。
まあインサイドだけど。
なんで
うち。
うち。
言って。
鬼は外。服がうち。運が外。
鬼は外、服はうち。
鬼が外。
鬼は外。
鬼は外。服はうち。
わかる？意味。何？
Devil's out. Good. Then.